Yeah, this actually just popped. This is actually really recent news. Apparently, there's the autobiography of Mr. Spock. It's a memoir, and it was written by, let's see, what's her name? Una McCormick. Mm-hmm. And it just came out on September 14th. And basically, it's Spock's memoirs. And he apparently inside them wrote to Jean-Luc Picard and told all about the secret of Michael Burnham and USS Discovery. So I found it interesting that this came out. Now, it's not in any of the shows, but the argument here that they talk about is that if they don't refute it, then it's going to eventually be accepted as canon. Now, it kind of already is canon that it happened, since it happened on Discovery, and Discovery is canon. But the fact that they're trying to provide more canonical links, I found interesting. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at this story, Laura, but was curious what you thought about it.
Was this written after Discovery or before?
Oh, yeah. This was recently written. It was just published on September 14th.
Like revisionist then.
It's like they're adding to the connections to make it more canonical.
I got it.
And because the writers of the show contribute to this book, it's almost like it's connected.
I don't. So I don't ever accept, if they don't refute it, it's canon. Star Trek Online does that. I mean, by that logic, my canon, my fan fiction that I wrote, where Kira and Dax hook up and then go back in time to save Uhura, and then they go and connect Star Trek and the Battlestar Galactica universes, and then create a sex cult. It is canon. It's not refuted. It's not refuted in the actual Alpha canon, so I guess we have to accept. No, I don't. I thought they were going to talk about it in season 2. I actually misunderstood it. It's fine. I don't think it's, even if they did include it like in Alpha canon, which they don't, just because a writer wants something doesn't make it true. I don't. I'd have to see the impacts to the actual continuity, the actual how it impacts the characters and such, because it is possible to write it well, but if it's not really going to impact in anything I'm watching, I don't care all that much, because I mean, writers say stuff all the time that never goes online. So
that's
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you know, what's interesting is because Spock and Picard had that mind meld during the Unification 2-parter on Next Gen. Because they had that, you know, and because of the way mind melds work, then wouldn't Picard have already known about Burnham to some degree because of the mind meld?
I'd have to go back and see if there's a way to actually block certain parts of the mind meld to resist. Because remember, Dukat could resist a mind meld. He could prevent. And so if a Cardassian is taught how to resist a mind meld, a Vulcan might be able to only allow certain parts through, you know? So I'd have to go and take a look back. It's possible that she got through, but if he was to act like she never existed, I wouldn't see why he'd let that occur, you know?
Okay. That's actually a good point.
Yeah. You know what? This article actually brought another question I'd like to ask you, Laura. It says Spock and Burnham saved the galaxy from rogue AI called Control. This is not even about this topic, but I do want to ask you, considering how much they love the Borg and bringing the Borg into the show, do you think it was a lost opportunity not making Control at some kind of origin story to the Borg?
No, I think that it was absolutely a horrific idea to make Control an origin story, and I'm glad they did. Or they'd have to retcon what happened in Voyager. We already know the origin story of the Borg. It hasn't been expanded on. But I think, and especially at that time when they really felt like they were just being very disrespectful, I don't really want to see that connection. It already has issues in and of itself, because again, we have yet again another era where Borg-like technology exists, and yet in the next generation, they're somehow completely surprised by the assimilation process.
Right.
Because in Enterprise, Phlox literally finds a way to defeat assimilation, which we forget. And then in Discovery, they actually fight Control, which effectively has assimilation.
It's the same
That's what it
thing.
is.
It's literally
Yeah.
the same thing.
And yet we're all surprised on how to combat it. You know,
Even look,
so
the graphics even looked the same. Like
yeah.
they had the same green. The whole thing was the same.
Well, and that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was thinking, well, if you're gonna have if you're gonna have control anyways, and you have time travel, and you have control. You could have tried to connect the two, because you know how much the current writers, just absolutely adore anything Borg related.
Right. Well, and that's they kind of wanted to have the Borg without the Borg, but honestly, that would just make Discovery more like Gene Roddenberry's The Next Generation, where they're just trying to rewrite it in their own image.
Right.
And if they were going to do that, just say it's not in the prime timeline. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't have had an issue. I would have even found it really interesting if they were like, this isn't prime timeline, and this is how the Borg were started. In Discovery, it was this. And it might have even been really kind of fun if Control, to save itself, knowing that it was going to be defeated, somehow like either got through the time loop, like one of the right. drones or whatever, or just went off on its own and it found itself in the Delta Quadrant. Like when JJ expanded Section 31, I thought that was really interesting. I like the fact that a more militarized Starfleet, because of what happened with the Naradu, however you say it, the Romulan mining
right.
ship.
Yeah.
That caused Starfleet to be more militarized. And because of that, Section 31 now has installations in like libraries. You know, I think that's an interesting concept, and it's not prime timeline, so we're not worried about breaking any continuity.
Yeah, you know what? You're totally right, because you know, right now the What If series on Disney Plus for Marvel is super popular, and they can do whatever they want. They can rewrite history, characters, whatever, and everybody loves it because it's What If. It has nothing to do with canon.
Yeah.
They could have literally just made that. If Discovery was in a different timeline where the rules don't apply, but the familiarity is there and the writers have a lot more freedom to do whatever they want, I don't think you would have seen as many people upset about that first season, because they would have almost literally nothing to complain about.
Right.
You know?
So my theory is that they didn't know how Discovery was going to do. And so they wanted to at least initially bank off the nostalgia to get the original Trekkies in it, so that they would still support it and still give money to keep it going. My theory is that they didn't ever really want to connect it, that they wanted to have their own universe, but from a financial standpoint, they needed to connect it. Aesthetics don't bother me, like the complete redesigns, because they do that all the time. They've done that from TOS, TNG, well, TOS movies, TNG, DS9. But just some of the continuity issues, some of the changes and how things work, I really think they wanted their own universe, and they didn't know if they would be able to support it without the original fans. And now I think they're in a spot where, if they wanted to retcon it, the new fans they got, the new demographic, will probably get pissed off and feel like they're not worthy, or they're different, you know? So
that's why they sent Discovery into the future.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, so that they can write their own stuff and they can have their own thing. And part of that is all the behind the scenes issues too. Trek Yards has a lot more information on this than me. But before Kurtzman, you had Fuller, and he had bought everything for like the first 2 seasons. And so they had to use that regardless of what they wanted to do. And so as soon as they got to season 3, where they got a budget that they can do their own thing, they got the hell out of there.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. I think that they are sort of, I mean, I want to feel like they're maybe retconning a little bit by just bringing in the whole Strange New Worlds thing, or they're trying to appease fans a little more by doing this. I mean, that wasn't even a thought until Discovery season 2 and Anson Mount comes on the scene. There is no Strange New Worlds.
Well, surprisingly, Strange New Worlds also has the same aesthetics, like that you would think that were updated aesthetics to the TOS. It has, you know, it's a lot more in line with TOS.
But I really feel like they are trying to come to a happy medium, and that they are trying to appeal to all demographics, to the new progressive LGBT diversity, as well as to those who remember the legacy Trek, or Trek the way that it was. I know very popular channels don't like to look at it like that, but I do. I think they're slowly starting to come around to that, and I think
you're right. I think we as fans are going to have to, if we want to explore this universe going forward. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are happy with what's been created, and they're like, look, I'll just watch that. But I think as fans who, if we're curious about the future and where things are going, then we're going to have to be a little more flexible in giving there some allowance to what we will watch, and kind of accepting some things maybe we don't want to in order to move forward. And everybody's going to have to make up their own mind. But hopefully there is that marriage of old and new, and we can feel like we're connected to something a little better than we have been so far.
Well, you're never going to have Trek the way that it was. Audiences just will not accept that. Overall, mainstream audiences won't. And especially you'd have to downgrade your technology, and why would you do that, right? So we're never going to have what it was. And so there's a certain amount of, this is what it's going to be, for better or worse.
Right.
I think a good point.
Although we've said it before, when they sent Discovery into the future, we're like, okay, cool. That's where they should have started.
Right.
Should have just started there. There would be no argument if they had just started there,
Right. And again, Trek Yards really is the one to talk to on this, but my understanding was Fuller had really just committed them to the first two seasons. They changed it up, but really they had to go with his design until that point. So, I mean, if Kurtzman had gotten to do it from the beginning, who knows what would have happened, Could have been more interesting, I think.
Yeah, it might have even been more aligned with the 2009 reboot.
Right.
I think, because he had worked on that already. And I know that he made a promise to Fuller when Fuller left that he would continue with his vision as well. So you're right there. I hope that, hopefully he's slowly turning it around, and that's kind of where we're going with it.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, we really appreciate you being on with us today. Is there anything else you want to tell anybody about your channel and where they can see you and spend more time with you?
I mean, sure. If people want to check me out, then check me out at youtube.com/Lore Reloaded. Though I don't know why they would. They're on the best channel on YouTube. I don't know why would you leave that? So,
Man, that was nice.
I love this man so much. Do you have a members section, Lore?
Not yet. I've been looking at what other people have been doing, and hopefully that's going to come up soon. I'm good with making videos and creating content and stuff. So bad with the management of everything else. It's horrible.
Well, I got to tell you, it takes more than one person.
Yeah, that's what I'm slowly coming to
We're lucky
realize.
enough to have each other, but we feel like if we had like a third brother, it'd be a lot easier.
And he would look a little bit like you, Lore.
Yeah.
We'll call it Popcast Reloaded. Just merge them together.
Yeah, instead of Popcast Unleashed.
I like it.
Yeah, because you got to have someone that's going to you need someone to write, someone to schedule, someone to plan the live streams, the articles, someone to do the research, someone to voice it, edit it, the motion graphic, the thumbnails. There's just so much. Shay and I have 15 hats. I mean, honestly, it takes look at someone like Philip DeFranco. He has 130 employees. That's insane. I started watching Philip DeFranco when it was him in his dad's guest bedroom.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was back in the day.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for being here. Yeah,
thanks for having me.
All right, my friend. We will put your channel in the description of both the videos because it's on two different channels, and go check them out if you already haven't.
But we would love to have you on again if you're cool with that. And,
sure.
We're trying to bring on a guest every week, and as we got more Trek to talk about, we would love to have you on.
I'd be honored to be on.
Thanks for watching. To see the full conversation, become a member of the Popcast family. Use the link in the description below, or go to our channel and click the join button. Select your tier, and we'll see you at the next show.